Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. I'm Kathryn Troutman from Resume Place in Baltimore, Maryland, and today is the first time to teach this webinar of its title, Take a Risk if you're a military spouse, and show that you are a military spouse on your resume. And I invited my good friend, risk expert, Dr. Kathryn Hardy, to come on to the webinar with us. I'm an expert with federal resumes, and Kathryn is an expert at taking risks. And I've been teaching this curriculum now for not a year, because I came up with the idea to self-identify as a military spouse last July. It's not been very long. So I've been talking about it, and, you know, I think it's a great idea. But, you know, well, I've been talking to managers and everybody. So Kathryn is going to be talking about her side, which is about risk-taking with your federal resume for military spouses. And let me just move my slide up here, and then she can introduce herself here. Just a second, everybody. Move over there. There we go. Okay, so there's my background. I'm Kathryn Troutman, director of the Resume Place. And this book, The Stars Are Lined Up for Military Spouses, is you're going to want to get it. If you're interested in adding this block to your resume, the handout that we have in the room is available to you. You can download it. Wendy will tell you how. And it has one sample of this resume format in the handout. But in the book, there's 6 samples. So that's my bio there. And here is Kathryn. And Kathryn, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Absolutely, Kathryn. First of all, I'm very excited to be here as part of this webinar. So I have an extensive background in risk management. I'm formerly the Director of Risk Management for the U.S. Department of Commerce and at NIH. So I've seen a lot of risk-taking in my 30-year career. And now I'm actually the Dean of an academy that teaches folks specifically about building up their risk management skills and using that to leverage their existing skills that they may already have in their resume, and how that can be a great opportunity for them within the employment.
Yeah, you know, since I'm a small woman-owned business, I'm an entrepreneur. I take a risk about, you know, once a week, maybe more. So taking
right,
risks is
exactly.
like I'm just jumping off. You know, I'm just doing it. So I love your topic, and I'm going to learn more about it now that we're working together here for military spouses. So thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us with this particular topic. So here we go. So I'm going to talk about federal resumes and military spouses. And then I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to let Kathryn talk about the risk part of adding your military spouse information into your resume and being transparent about your career and your life and your skills on your resume. So here we go. I have good news to give you, first of all, about military spouses and federal jobs. It is really good. I'm really serious. As of last year, March 7 of 2019, President Trump signed an executive order that improved the jobs for military spouses. And the NDAA of 2017 removed the 2-year limit that you could use the executive order. It used to be you could only use that order 2 years on each installation, and now there's no limit. You can use it for the whole time that you're at each base. Also, this NDAA removed, nowadays, you don't have to move with your active duty military person. You can stay where you want and still use the hiring authority, so that's really good. And then also the federal agencies have been told that they need to hire more spouses and to make it more evident. So a military spouse, to use this executive order, needs to be married to someone who is an active duty person or who is 100% disabled, still, you know, here, but not 100% disabled, or passed away on active duty. Those are the spouses who can use this executive order. And the good thing is when you see the military spouse announcements on USA Jobs, you see the little widget there. The good news is that the veteran's preference does not apply to these jobs. These are open to federal employees, the military spouses of various hiring authorities, and veterans' preference is very strong. And so when you see that widget on USA Jobs, it's good. The veterans' preference doesn't apply. So that's a big help. So here's my slide. Will you take a risk? And Kathryn, you talk about this.
Well, will you take a risk is a great question because right now some folks may think that this is not the best time to take a risk when actually this is the perfect time to take a risk. And one of the advantages of actually adding your military spouse information to your resume is that you're actually showing hiring managers that you have this agile expertise in different areas that lends to you actually, traveling and doing a lot of moving around. That really speaks well to the environment in which we're working in and live in today. So it's not totally foreign to managers to actually see this happening because we understand, I'll get to the slide later, that that's the environment in which we're working and managing. So there's expectations to see people who have that type of flexibility and able to deal with that level of flexibility. Even now, we're seeing that how important it is to be flexible. And military spouses, to a sense, have mastered the ability to be flexible and how that can be applied to their jobs.
You're right, Karen. Military spouses have mastered the art of flexibility. I agree with that. Oh, so here's our story now. So I'm going to show you how to make this clear on your resume and add your military spouse career information. Thank you, Elizabeth. I want to ask a question before I go forward. I have a lot of people on the line here who I've already trained and know about this new format. But can you just type in this in the chat box if you've ever seen a military spouse add this information to their resume, federal resume or private sector resume? Just say yes, no, just anything. Have you ever seen it before? That's all I want to know. Oh, Elizabeth has not. Okay. A lot of you have because I recognize a lot of people's names here. Oh, we have a lot of first timers here. Okay, good. Okay, so that's right. I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. So you're going to start with the military spouse. You're going to write the basic federal resume, and then you're going to add that you're authorized by EO 13473 on the resume. Then you're going to add your military spouse block in the summary or as a block for a job. I'll show you what this looks like. Wait a minute. And then you're going to add your qualifications as a military spouse. You're going to add that you have knowledge of DOD procedures and documents, and you're going to show resilience through examples, and you're going to take credit for being very mission-oriented toward DOD and the military services because you are, half of your life is dedicated to it, where you live and, moving your kids all around. So here's what it looks like. Look at this. So this is a resume that is, she's in attendance today. Nicole Becker is here. Her resume is in the book, and Nicole works her resume place, so she doesn't mind if I say her name. Look at this. We have here at the very top of the resume on the right, military spouse preference, and there it is, EO 13473. Then, look at that. We have our PCS work history right there. Wow. On the top of page 1, spouses have been hiding that for a while. And then we have a summary of skills, U.S. Army military spouse, 10 years and all that. And then she has her business here. She makes cookies and is very flexible with earnings for her family. So this is what we're talking about here today, is adding this information to the resume. I heard a funny story in my class last week. This was so good. One of my 10-step trainers, she said, I was invited to an interview for corporate America, and they told me when I got into the interview, and I was sitting right there with 3 people, that they invited me into the interview because my resume was so crazy. They wanted to see what I looked like, and they wanted me to tell why my resume was like this, like it is. They never once dreamed that I was a military spouse. So that's why I got invited to the interview, but that's not a great reason to get invited to an interview. No. She said that was a true story. So why did you just, put it out there and there it is. This is some of the feedback that I've been getting from people about this new job block. Audrey says, it'll take some getting used to, but I think highlighting the PCS history will help explain the information and the gaps. And Julie said, I'm blown away by the concept. I spent a long time trying to downplay being a spouse. So this is a whole new world. And the reason that I thought of it is that PPPS, the old program for spouses, disappeared one day, April of 2020. 19, I think, or 18, I don't know. But anyway, not long ago, PPPS went away. And then everybody just said, well, no, there's no special program for spouses. Now you just fly on USA Jobs and submit your resume, thankfully, to the military spouse jobs, and just wing it. And I thought, oh my gosh, how is the spouse going to stand out when the applications are going to be filled with current federal employees and reinstatement people and Schedule 8 people and DEOA veterans? How can a spouse stand out? So that's how I got inspired to do this and write a whole book about it and publish it and create 6 samples and teach classes everywhere, all around the world, because I think it's a good idea. So Karen's going to talk here about why this is a good idea.
Kathryn, it's more than a good idea. It's an excellent idea because the timing is right. As I said before, I've been in federal government more than 30 years and in being a certified risk management expert for 15 years within the federal sector. There's a lot of things happening in the federal sector right now that makes this opportunity to include this military block on your resume a powerful tool and a competitive advantage for a military spouse competing for any job within the federal government. And I believe with the military block combined with specialized training in risk management, which I provide, a spouse can be so competitive and really stand out and impress hiring managers because it's all about solving problems. In the previous resume that you shared from Nicole, she had great administrative skills. She demonstrated expertise in inventory skills, and it's all about standing out. And those are 2 key areas where risk is one of the top risks within the federal government, trying to manage risk to inventory and a lot of the administrative operations. So in general, we live in a VUCA world. And what I mean by VUCA world, not Vulcan world, but a VUCA world, meaning there are 4 key things that really are prevalent during this time. One is that we live in a world of volatility, which means that things are always changing. Up, down, things change every day. We live in a world of uncertainty, and we're living like that today. We don't know what's going to happen next. So there's a heightened awareness in terms of, not really knowing what the next thing is. There's a lot of complexity where we can't really figure out problems as easily as we used to, and it takes collaboration to do that. And then there's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of confusion for a lot of people. But the thing is that a VUCA world is not new. We've always operated in a VUCA world. What is new is that we don't have enough people in organizations and companies with the skill set to help organizations identify the risk in this VUCA world. So you want to prepare and upskill so that you're a value add asset to the organization, and then you become the eyes and ears for the organization.
Yeah, I agree. Those are really good statements for us right now, especially with what we're going through this week. This is an amazing webinar we're teaching because of this alone, but even before this week, those competencies are very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. But it's getting more attention now than ever before. Unfortunately, a crisis is the time when a lot of people start to see put risk management is really the center stage. That's when people start to actually demonstrate risk management behavior and they don't know that they're demonstrating risk management behavior. So risk management is really the center of discussion right now. So it's a good time for risk management in government for a lot of reasons. One of the things has to do with the fact that government is pushing risk management policy for the past 4 years in the federal sector, actually requiring agencies to do better risk management. There's a lot of budget challenges. People want to see a return on investment. Programs have to perform well. You just can't have a program, but how is it changing and impacting the lives of our citizens? There's more high risk, and there's more fraud, waste, and abuse. So with that said, you need a strong resume, and the pros of that is that you upskill yourself. OPM is looking to engage and create risk management language within job announcements, sooner or later that's going to happen. Why not be in a position now as a military spouse? Include that military spouse block on your resume because you are flexible and agile, and be one of those people who stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. That's exactly what I was envisioning when I created this new format. So let me show you a couple other resumes that have it, and we'll just let it sink in here a little bit. I have 3 more samples, I think, in my presentation here. I didn't add all 6. So here's Nicole. Look, some of her cookies here. Aren't they beautiful? She took all of my logos and made a cookie out of it. That's a good
nice
picture to do. So I know she's an entrepreneur. She was in my class last week. So there's her business right there. We put in there small business, and we added, this is the look of the resume we're recommending these days. We have all caps here, correspondence management and customer services. And that's a skill that she has, making cookies. Yeah, she has transferable skills from being an entrepreneur. She also does research, analysis, and planning to create her cookie visions and her products. And look at the all cap words that are on the left there. Those are the skills that she has running her cookie business. So very transferable. We're always transferring skills. And then here's the rest of her job block. So this whole job block here is about the cookie business. We made it look very good. And then we have key accomplishments here. And the resume she had before, she did mention at the very top that she was a spouse of a soldier, but left out the cookie business and did not have her PCS history in there. So it was, you know, just kind of generic, not as good. And then for private sector, we're also recommending that you add in that you are a military spouse, especially if you're going to be applying for a company that is interested in hiring military spouses. A lot of companies are very interested in the competencies of a spouse. A lot of them are telework jobs. So we're recommending that you add it in here, even for private sector. So what do you think, Karen?
Again, it's a good time for risk management. That previous resume included things like budget analysis and planning. Those are all key core competencies for any risk manager in government. That's part of an international framework for managing risk in the government. So if you from the DoD are looking for a career in the DoD, and the fact that you come from the DoD as a spouse, you already are a step ahead of the game when it comes to that. You already know the culture of DoD, and agencies can appreciate that. Bringing a different culture from one agency or one experience to another agency is what they look for. Expanding experience and exposure to different things.
Yeah. You know, Karen, the big complaint that the spouses have always heard and have been nervous about has been that they're going to move every 3 or 4 years. And that's the #1 reason why. There are other reasons, but that's the #1 reason why they have not wanted to put it on their resume, to not tell them that they're going to be moving and relocating. But nowadays, people don't stay in jobs longer than 3 or 4 years typically. And so I believe that argument is not a good one anymore. What do you think?
Well, here's my thought. If you know you're going to leave within 3 or 4 years, then your mindset switches to not just being an employee that leaves, but what am I going to contribute for the time that I'm here? So what you want to do is, again, leverage their experience and maybe help your organization do a risk assessment by being trained in risk management, by having that on your resume. That way, you're contributing something while you're there, and there's something that they can use once you leave, so that they don't feel like they're losing equity by hiring you. They're actually gaining an asset because you contribute in that way.
Yeah, and you know, for the senior executive service, if you are applying for one of the highest jobs in government, there's one of the competencies is leading people. And the leading people competencies are leveraging diversity, culture diversity, team building, developing others. And so they're looking for diverse teams, diverse people in their organization.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's right. And so hiring a military spouse with very diverse backgrounds would be something that would be good for them with that background. Another point I'd like to make is that I taught classes about a month ago for National Park Service. I went to Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, and the director of both islands was talking to me, and I said, oh, David, I've got this new idea now about adding a military spouse career history right into the resume with all the dates and places and everywhere they've gone. He said, oh, I would love that for Department of Interior, because we want people who are flexible and resilient and resourceful and can change and talk to lots of people and solve problems and be resilient. Oh, man, he was just like, yeah.
Resilience is very important. Yeah, resilience is very important, and I think even more now that skill is needed, and it comes in different size shapes. It looks differently across the board. Now, as a former hiring official myself, I've hired military spouses and military veterans all the time, and I looked at those resumes. There were specific skills I was looking for, and to have something pop out like this and understand leveraging the risk is very important.
It's a risk. It is a risk that you're just going to say it straight out, that you've relocated 6 times in 15 years, and you've grown from it. Charlene put in the chat box here that her mind is blown right now, laughing out loud. That's right, Charlene. Just think about it some more.
Well, Kathryn, I have to add. Yeah, Kathryn, I have to add that it's also important to realize that you still have to match up with the right company, whether you're a military spouse or not.
Yeah.
I mean, if I interview for a company, it may not be a good fit, and that's fine. So you may not be a good fit somewhere, but you have to find where you do fit. So it's something that all of us have to deal with. But the idea here is to, strategize so that you aim for those organizations that do understand the message we're trying to convey today.
Yeah, Mike wrote in here, he said, so how does the military answer the private sector employer's objection to hiring them based on their transitory status? Like, they might say, we need an employee with more time on station than you have to offer. So what do you say to that, Karen?
It's not the right fit. I wouldn't spend a lot of energy and time trying to convince someone I'm the right fit. Go to another organization that understands.
That's right. I agree with that. I agree. There's a lot of organizations that want the flexibility that spouses can offer, and there's a lot of corporate America organizations that are interested in working with military spouses now. They know the unemployment rate is really high and that they have good skills, and so I don't know, just get out there. So here's another, wait a minute. Oh, I had another sample here. Wait a minute, I got another tower I want to show you. Hold on. Let me get this other one up. Hold on a minute, everybody. All right, let me see here for a second. So Karen, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the training that you do for risk management, and I'm going to open up the screen. Or I know, Wendy, can you put the book up on the screen here for me, please? It's Star's book. Natasha says here, with everything going on right now, with hiring being put on hold, especially for government sector jobs, do you recommend that we continue to apply or wait until hiring is opened back up? Natasha, has hiring closed? Have you really seen that? I haven't heard that. I haven't seen it. I don't think that hiring has stopped for the government. HR people might be working from home. They can use USA Staffing like in their car or at their house. And,
well, what's happening what's happening right now is not a government shutdown. So the budgets are still intact. People are still working and things are still operating. So there's no stop on funding. This is a physical change that we're facing right now, not one that has to do with funding the government. So it's still business as usual, with the exception of you have a lot of people physically working, telework in remote locations.
Latasha says she has a friend who's a contractor. Oh, I agree with that. Contracting is on hold. Contracting, they may lay off. But government is hiring. I mean, look at what's happening now. They're going to be hiring way more people for CDC and HHS and the VA and the Army hospitals, and probably more law enforcement. The government's where you want to be, not private sector, not corporate. Latasha says it's not funding on hold, but because people can't travel for interviews. No, they don't need to travel for interviews. They do interviews by Skype. They haven't been doing interviews in person for a long time. They do it by Skype. So I got 3 emails the last 2 days where people were hired. It's slow,
So
but
yeah,
there's nothing new about that.
I think we have to keep in mind for government, which is a big elephant. Okay, it's very difficult for them to pivot on the spot like some private industries and just send people and do interviews by Skype. The government is not accustomed to doing that. The majority of them are not. So right now they're getting contingency plans in place. They're a little bit behind the ball on this, but they have to begin to institute these things such as technology which they are not used to. It may slow down the hiring process because it's about face-to-face interviews. But I don't think you should stop what your plan of action is. You can't stop what you're doing because it's a crisis. That's the time to sharpen your skills and your strategy and make it more focused.
I think the federal jobs are better than any you could get today. My son works for the government, and he's got no problem with his job. My book designer, Paulina, is working from home. People are fine with government. Heather says she's always worked in private sector, but my spouse was activated on and off. Currently, he's activated in Virginia, and we're in Georgia. We choose to stay put with the kids. I'm not listed on his orders, but do I still have military spouse preference? You sure do. Yes, you do. You know, your name does not have to be on the PCS orders at all to make it work. Just put those PCS orders in. And I had a young lady in my class last week who is an HR specialist, and she said that for her particular agency, which is Army, when she looks at those announcements for competitive, which the military spouses are, people with disabilities and spouses are the ones she looks at first. I didn't know that. And not all agencies are the same, so don't think that always happens. It doesn't. But I was really happy to see that, that's for sure.
So
we're getting the book. It's coming.
Yeah. So Kathryn, in terms of the training that I do provide, I have created a tailored training just for military spouses. And it's it's just a simplified version of the more technical information I talk about. I've just broken it down so that it's easy to understand and apply. And it's something that can be, again, it's a certificate, and it really exposes them to what actual risk management professionals within government actually do. So it's not theory, it's actually based on what have been done and what is being done and what I've done in the government sector, and how that can really help shine through on the resume.
We'll get them, the attendees, some more information about your agenda and how long the class is and everything. That sounds good. Do you know that I have never taken a class in risk management myself?
we have to fix that, Kathryn.
I know it. I'm done. Well, I'm a risk taker. I mean, it's like ingrained in me. I do take risks, and all the time, every time I publish a book, believe me. I took a big risk with the first South book that I had to throw away some of them because PPPS was eliminated. That was kind of sad. Oh my goodness, there's the book. Okay, let me show it to you now. Hold on. I'll show you a couple more of the samples. Yeah, can you send us an agenda of the of your curriculum, and then we'll take it from there and talk about it a little bit. Let me move it over here. Wendy, can you make this a decent size so we can see it, please? Can you do that?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's not letting me move it too much today for some reason.
Yeah, I saw it was really slow.
Yeah, I can't make it any bigger for some reason. Maybe it's still downloading, I think.
Let me go up to one of the samples here. You can see part of it anyway on the screen. Can you see the screen, everybody? Can they see this?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So here is Nicole's resume again, which we already saw. But there's your stock block right in the middle. And let me go up further. What page is this? Oh, is this that was my back cover. Sorry, everybody. Okay, here's Jan Mason's story. So Jan had a good work history, but I put her in the book because her resume was so bad that I liked it. And there's her PCS history right there. We have that she's a military spouse, 18 years of experience, and then we have her PCS orders right there. And she did have a pretty good history. All these honors and awards, she was really a very good military spouse, Army career person. And there's her job. She worked for me for a while after I got to know her. I hire a lot of spouses because my work, is with military. But before that, she was in Bavaria as a soldier and family readiness program manager. And look at the format here. We're still using the all-cap words to emphasize certain skills. And if you get the book, you can get it from Amazon or from my website. You'll be able to follow these samples. HR people love this format because it's easy to read. You can see the competencies and skills that are evident right here. The HR person does not have to read the whole resume. Let me scroll up and I'll show you another case. So we have, look at her accomplishment there. She has top performance and had helped a previously failed Army program, and on the first inspection received a perfect score. That was a great story. So let me show you her before resume. It's pretty funny. Hold on. This is why she got in the book. Look at this. That's how she had her resume written in a small paragraph. It's just a bunch of words. So I said, I need you in the book. She said, all right, look at that. Ah, terrible. Don't do that. HR people can't read that tiny little type. Take a risk and break it up. Take a risk and make it easier to read. Okay, here's Ann. I met her in Schofield Barracks, and she said, I went to ETAP with my husband, and I thought, why shouldn't I look for a job too? But I haven't worked for 22 years. Oh, no. So she wrote her resume. Look at that job block. There, she does military personnel document review. She knows automated systems. She's skilled with researching laws and regulations. She's got an amazing career history of 20 years. And wait till you see this, her only other job was a volunteer at the church in Honolulu. She was hired so fast, she got admin job at GS7, and she got hired much faster than she even thought she would get hired. So, you know what? So, looking at this here, Karen.
Yes.
Do you think it's a lot of a risk to just go ahead and put this down on paper and say, here, this has been my life. These are the skills I've developed over these 20 years with my military spouse. Is this taking a big risk?
It's not taking a big risk when you connect it all together. You're telling a story for the most part on your resume. So this, as a standalone, it's great, but it can be even better when it's connected to resolving a problem within the organization. And that's where a certificate like the training I do, when you add that in there, you actually help tell that story. For instance, if you're working at a location and it's temporary for 3 years, where every year you can do a simple risk assessment, right? And that becomes experience. So if you're moving every 3 years, the next thing you know, you have 3 years of risk assessment experience. And I showed them how to do that. And that really just adds so much value.
I think when we teach this webinar again, actually for this webinar, if somebody would like to volunteer, send me an email after the class, and maybe we could do a risk assessment on one of your PCS order locations and what you were doing there. I think that'd be kind of cool. We could write one up and see what that would look like. So you can write to me after the class. So there's Ann, and she just put it straight out there, and then her volunteer experience, and she did have a degree in engineering. Her before resume was really simple. Just didn't say military spouse, just did volunteer job. Wasn't too bad. Okay, one more, and then we're going to review here. Natalie is in South Korea. She's okay. And this is her. I had a contest for military spouses to write up what their job is like as a military spouse, and only Natalie responded. Only one person wrote to me, and this is what she wrote. She said this to me. This is what she does as a military spouse. She took a risk, and she wrote to me. And she got a free resume because that was the prize. I loved it. So here's her resume. Wait a minute. So we wrote this for going toward education and linguistics. And this is it right here. Look at that. Here it is. We've got a summary of her skills and her education, then her military spouse history, and then her job duties, the high-level duties as a spouse, communications, planning, events, and then her positions doing language work. So I just want to ask a couple questions before we end our program here, and I can't see the chat box anymore. I wonder where it is. Let me see if I can see it. There it is. Thank you. So I want to ask a question. Oh, Heather has a question. I want to take a risk and change to government, but how do I crack the code to get into the government side? It's never been as yet. Heather, just start with getting my book, The Stars Are Lined Up for Military Spouses, and work on your resume, maybe do some consulting because we need to figure out what job you're qualified for. You totally need to try to go government. You might need some help. Everybody in the book, I know, and I helped. You can't really do it all by yourself. It's kind of risky to do it all by yourself. So I'm going to ask the question. Here's the question. Will you add this to your resume or coach others to add this section to your resume? Just say yes, maybe, not sure, whatever you want to say. Go ahead and write that there. Hang on a second. I got to put my camera on pause here. I'm back. Well, it looks really positive. Your responses here. Charlene says she teaches a class on resume writing. I may have to do a separate one on this. Yeah, Charlene. I teach a program called the Certified Federal Job Search Trainer, Certified Federal Career Coach, and I license people to teach the PowerPoint that I just played out here. This is unique. I added Karen's angle to the PowerPoint, but it is taking a risk to add this to your resume. And I like the question that Mike added earlier that what if they don't want to hire you because you're going to leave? Karen's answer was really good. It's not the right fit. That's what I agree too. But I do think it's a good idea to have it in there. So do you want to say any final statements, Karen, about why it's a good idea to take a risk? Go ahead.
Risk is becoming the norm. A crisis like this, the things we face, it's normal. There was a time when risk was a bad word. Right now, risk management is not a bad word. It's actually a strength now. And a lot of people are realizing that they lack risk management skills. And that's what's really throwing a lot of organizations off right now. So they're going to need, right after this, they're going to need more people who understand that, because employees are on the front line, not the executives. The executives are dealing with high-level problems. The ones that know what's going on within organizations are those who are trained in risk management on the front lines, and that's where the big difference is.
Yeah. I agree. I think this is definitely the time to just take a risk and do all kinds of things. In terms of getting help for your federal career and your resume place, we do provide consulting and writing and everything. You can go to resumeplace.com and you can look for our starter services there. We charge $190 for an hour consultation to look at your resume, talk about what announcement is right for you, talk about the resume improvements that could be made to help you to be competitive and best qualified. We'll talk about accomplishments. We'll talk about the adding your military spouse section to your resume. That's $190. It's not that bad for an hour. And then we write resumes too. We quote it when we're doing the consulting. And then we can send you another email after the class with Karen's risk management program, her agenda that she teaches, and I think I'll sign up. I never took a class in risk management, and it's time to do it now for me.
Well,
really, I'm going to do it.
it's exciting. Now, when I teach risk management, it's not going to put you asleep. It definitely talks about real life things that you do all the time, and you don't know that risk management skills are embedded in it. So it's a lot of fun. It's great awareness, and it's easy to pick up. And after you take the course, you're going to be glad that you did, and you're going to be probably referring other people to take it as well.
Well, I'm glad you stepped out and created something for military spouses and all the decisions they need to make and risks in their career and for their families and their life and everything. So
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Everybody's putting up some links here. Charlene says she has a question. Go ahead. She's typing up here. The book has 6 samples of resumes with the PCS history in it, so I wrote it so you can see them, published it, jumped in there, took a risk. My top competency is I'm flexible. I am very flexible.
You know, Kathryn.
I'm here at home.
Kathryn, just the other day I had a podcast interview with a gentleman, and one of the things, he's running a multi-million-dollar company, and he said that right now you have to take a risk on yourself. This is the best time.
Yeah, I agree. Charlene wants to know about spouses whose sponsors are retiring. Well, once they retire, you can't use the executive order. So if you can use it soon, you could do it. I think, though, even if you are, let's say you're already retired and you want to add it to your resume to show your story, to show what you've done with your life other than your part-time or whatever jobs you had, you can still add the PCS job block because I think it's experience, whether the EO 13473 is usable. If you're not married to an active duty or 100% disabled or passed away military spouse, then you can't use the order. But you can still claim the experience on your resume because it helps paint the picture of what you've done with your life and what you know and shows the flexibility and everything. So that's, I think this was a really good class. Thank you, Karen, for coming in with me.
Absolutely.
And sharing, and Mike for being here, and Nicole, and everybody. I really appreciate it. And we're going to, you can download the short version of that PowerPoint I created for you in the classroom here. And we'll send you the agenda for Karen's risk webinars that she's offering. And I haven't seen it, so I'll look at it myself. And thanks, everybody. It was really fun. Thank you, Karen. I loved it. It was great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I hope you will all take a risk and add this block to your resume. Just do it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Randy.